Big time fight in our co-main event. We have featherweights almighty Arnold Allen taking on Super Sadiq Yusuff. And Matt, if we had to rank them of all-time MMA dads, and I give you four of them, we're going to go with Amanda Hebos' dad that had that crazy tattoo of Emily Whitmire getting submitted by, Amanda Hebos. Lance Palmer's dad with the Ultimate Farting Championship t-shirt. We also have Chris Weidman's dad for, still his son.
The obvious.
And then you also have Arnold Allen's dad, the bodybuilder.
Oh.
Rank him? I mean, Arnold Allen's dad's right up there with the rest of them. Now, as far as his fighting style, this is a guy that I think he unfortunately gets lumped into the same category as Nathaniel Wood. Now, for Nathaniel, his nickname is the Prospect, so he's forever the Prospect. But both guys, English, they're in the lower weight classes, and they've really had a slow burn to get to the top. It's been a while since Arnold Allen's been in the UFC, and you probably think of him as, that young, fresh-faced guy with the stupid mustache. Yeah, you'd be 100% right. The young guy that had his UFC debut back in 2015 against Alan Omer. Yeah, that's him. That's Arnold Allen. And so far in the UFC, his only finish, and it just keeps looking better, against Mads Burnell, who had great success in Cage Warriors, and I think he's going to light it up with Bellator. But that win keeps looking better. If you want to go with the 5 on in, you got the Burnell at the 4 spot. You got Makwan Amirkhani by split. You got Jordan Rinaldi, no longer in the UFC, but a very good grappler. You've got Gilbert Melendez and Nick Lentz. To me, 2 statement wins the last 2. Melendez, to me, is the top one. You look at the fights that he's been matched up in as well. He had the Josh Emmett booking that fell out. Emmett, wasn't able to make it, so Nick Lentz stepped in and got the break speed off him. And then Arnold Allen was supposed to fight Jeremy Stevens back in November. Stevens out due to injury. So Arnold Allen coming in here against Sadiq Yusuff, and I have to say this before I hand it over. Sadiq Yusuff had a massive fight booked against Edson Barboza back in October. That one fell out. Yusuff was out. And now we're here, and he gets Arnold Allen. So 2 guys that still in the prospect stage, even though they're late in the game. For Yusuff, comes into the UFC, beats Suman Mokhtarian, beats Shimon Moraes, beats Gabriel Benitez, and Andre Feely. A lot of really good wins for Yusuff. It's been a while since we've seen him, just over a year, too.
Sadiq Yusuff has just the classic kind of progression of an MMA fighter. You're fighting guys who you should beat, you're beating them, you suffer a loss, you retool, and then you come back. And you just have to look at kind of the run that he's gone on since then. Knockout in 39 seconds. He beat Mike Davis on Contender Series, and Mike Davis is just coming off a win against Mason Jones, former Cage Warriors champ. So that tells you the type of fighter who we're dealing with in Sadiq Yusuff. He was up a weight class against a very good 155-pounder, and he was still able to beat him. Now, I gotta be honest. When Arnold Allen
That one at featherweight.
Oh, sorry. I thought that one was the lightweight. Arnold Allen versus Josh Emmett would have been a great fight. But in my mind, the most exciting fight that could have gotten made at 145, and hopefully we'll see it in the future, I need Sadiq Yusuff to fight Josh Emmett at some point in the future. I think that fight ends in knockout, probably the first 4 minutes. I have no idea who wins. Just a side note. I like a lot of what Sadiq Yusuff does. And then you look at his win over Mokhtarian. Of course, he knocked him out. That fight wasn't competitive at all. He beats the brakes off Shimon Moraes, who is a fighter who I think we liked him a lot more than most other people did. And then you go to the Benitez fight.
Because he looked like Jeremy Meeks.
He did. He was a handsome cat. He just didn't beat a lot of good guys in the UFC. In the Benitez fight, it was, Yusuff's going to win. Yusuff's going to win. A lot of people thought he was going to win. I was one of the few who picked Benitez. And it was a good example of a fight where a fighter gets tested, but they still end up winning. Yusuff gets dropped with a quick shot in the start of the first round. He's able to come back, basically just marches Benitez down, knocks him out at the end of the first round. Then the Andre Feely fight. We see some wrestling out of Yusuff. We see some defensive wrestling. We see him work off his back. We see a lot of different wrinkles that we haven't seen before, and I just like how, as Sadiq Yusuff has fought in tougher competition, he's had to show slightly different, just aspects of his MMA game. Whereas Arnold Allen, you bring up his top wins. Yeah, beating Gilbert Melendez is nice. Yeah, beating Nick Lentz is nice. But it's been a while since we've really seen Arnold Allen in there with someone who is supposed to beat Arnold Allen. I know that's a weird way of saying it, but it's not like anyone thought he was going to lose to Melendez. He was a massive favorite in that fight. Melendez fighting at 145, never should have in the first place, because we all know him for being that great 155-pound champ. Then you fight Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is now retired, and that's not the same Nick Lentz who was fighting, circa 2014 to 16, let's say. For Allen, I understand why he is ranked. He's on this great win streak. My problem is there's not a single name on that win streak that really jumps out to me. Mads Burnell, yeah, that's a good win, but even Mads Burnell, I wouldn't say that's a better win than the Benitez or the Feely win are on Yusuff's record. In my mind, at least, I have Yusuff Yusuff as that top level prospect. I really do. He's in that, I guess, former Macy Barber category, but he's in those prospects though who you look at and you're like, okay, I can really see him fighting for a title one day. Arnold Allen's good. He's very well rounded. He has great cardio, and again, he is just good at everything. I don't know what he's gonna do that's gonna stop the forward pressure of Sadiq Yusuff, because what Yusuff's really great at, I can throw low calf kicks, overhands. I've got more power than anyone in the division. What does Arnold Allen do to stop the forward momentum of Sadiq Yusuff? And I don't really know what the answer is.
The thing that I'm most looking forward to in this fight is the kicks, because Arnold Allen throws great kicks. You saw that in the Lentz fight, but really it was accentuated in that Gilbert Melendez fight. He just kept going to the well.
The competition though,
and he looked good. And I mean, listen, you're really kind of downplaying Arnold Allen. That's fine.
It's just, if any other guy in the top 15's last 2 wins were Gilbert Melendez and Nick Lentz, people wouldn't want them ranked. That's my only point.
I mean, listen, Ally Quint is still ranked at lightweight.
He beat Kevin Lee in a 5-round main event. That at least gets you into the rankings. My problem is Arnold Allen never had that statement win that's, okay, now you deserve to be in the rankings. Sadiq Yusuff knocked out Gabriel Benitez, who, yeah, I know I'm his biggest fan in the world, but that still means something to me. And he beat Andre Fili, who's just good at everything and does a lot similar to Arnold Allen.
All right, so we look at this fight. Again, you've got Allen, the southpaw, the orthodox fighter, and Sadiq Yusuff. As far as corners are concerned, I mean, Arnold Allen coming out of BKK Fighters over in England. We know everything there is to know about his dad. That lifts stuff in the front yard. He's like a tough Luke Thomas that could fight maybe
like
in a
Zach
bar.
Lucia?
And then you look at Sadiq Yusuff, a guy that trains out of Lloyd Irvin martial arts. Not really known for their fighters so much. Like, I mean, you've got Tafon Chukwe, you've got Sadiq Yusuff. There's a few others that train there, but it's not really
Sadiq
the most
Yusuff's pretty good, though.
well-known gym. I mean, you had James Vick for a while. Things haven't worked out well at Lloyd Irvin. So you got a fight here, Matt, where Sadiq Yusuff comes in and he's the favorite. And it's not much of a surprise to most people. Now, opening odds had Yusuff at a -120. It dropped really quick. He was a -180. He's now -139. The line's starting to drop on him again. For Arnold Allen, he's coming in here. He opened a +100. He's +114. And if we go over to Topology, 1,125 total votes, Matt. 60% going Allen, 88% by decision. The 40% that I have Yusuff, 61% by decision, 32% by knockout. Sadiq Yusuff, can the gas tank hold up in a fight against Arnold Allen that's just go, 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 go?
I think it can for this reason alone. When Yusuff lands, he damages, and that just is the case. When he lands punches on his opponents, they feel it, and they are different because of those shots that he lands. Arnold Allen has good volume, but my issue is, and we talk about this sometimes with fighters who throw in combination, how, and I'll say Robert Whittaker because he's just a good example, where Robert Whittaker throws combinations, but he can choose which punches are going to be the really heavy ones that he's going to put everything into, whereas Allen, it's just a lot of volume. It's a lot of volume. He never really has those really snapping shots at the end of it, and for Allen, unless he does go for the takedown early and often against Yusuff, really make Yusuff work hard in that first round so that maybe cardio will become a factor. I just don't see it. I see Yusuff being the one who's going to connect with Allen as Allen tries to enter in and get inside of range, and you just see Yusuff continuing to hit him every time he tries to come close. For Allen, it is really that I'm going to try to clinch into my strike and go for the takedown, because I don't think even Arnold Allen's coaches are telling him, hey, go out there and strike at range with Sadiq Yusuff for 15 minutes. They'd be insane if they told him to do that. For him, he has to make this an MMA fight. He has to mix in the wrestling. He has to mix in some of the kicks and really just make this, again, about all facets of MMA, not just a boxing fight.
Gotta make it an MMA fight. And again, I mean, Yusuff slowed down a little bit in the third round against Andre Fili, but the number that I really like to look at, if you want to look at stats that jump off the page, strikes landed per minute, Yusuff, less so in terms of the experience. You got the one contender series fight in the UFC fights, but 6.1 significant strikes landed per minute to Arnold Allen's 3.19. But then you look at the number of strikes absorbed per minute. For Yusuff, 4.06. Allen isn't even reaching that number. It's really tough to try and average those out to where Arnold Allen has to land more than 4.06 to really start to make a big difference. Now, could he do it with the kicks? 100% he can. I mean, Sadiq Yusuff has big legs and he's a short guy, but that's the thing. He does a really good job of checking kicks. So same wavelength. I get Yusuff in this fight. I mean, again, I see that he's the favorite, but the fans have Arnold Allen. Yeah, I've got Super Sadiq in this one. I mean, I see him pushing a pace on Arnold Allen, Allen getting backed up. And the other thing, Arnold Allen hasn't fought that much. He started in the UFC in 2015. He's 7-0 in that time frame. Yusuff's been the much more active fighter. Now, I get it. Yusuff hasn't fought since that one against Andre Fili back early last year. but I'm still all about the Super Sadiq. I think the big prospect's going to get the win here, and he might even take the number away.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. This is a really important fight for the featherweight division because one of these two guys are going to start fighting those marquee names that we know and love at 145. So I think this is a very important fight for the division, but I agree with you. I've got Sadiq.
Wouldn't be a co-main event slot if it wasn't, really, but both of us going with Super Sadiq Yusuff to get the win. Really looking forward to this card. And up next, our main event preview for Marvin Vettori and his short notice opponents in replacing Darren Till. It's Kevin Holland. Let's keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.